I ask people this all the time, Candice. I go, does it feel good to help somebody else? The answer is a resounding always yes, okay? Responsible means that you're able to respond. To respond is a whole nother thing. It's a whole different thing because most people don't respond, but we're able to. And in my opinion, to answer your question, it is our duty to help one another. We want to be helped. You know, when somebody does something for us, it makes us feel loved. It makes us feel special. It makes us feel like we're worthy.
Hey everybody, like what you see, Luxe Life with Candice Bar or any of the Luxe Media Studios shows, make sure you subscribe and click the like below. Hey everybody, welcome to Luxe Life. I'm your host, Candice Bar, and we are so excited for today. We have none other than Joesph McClendon on with us. Welcome, Joesph.
Thank you so much for having me, Candice, and what an amazing hat.
Thank you. Shout out to my friend Asa. She has a great store in Venice called Asa Caftans, and that's where I got this hat. So shout out to Asa. But
Yeah.
Mr. Joesph, we're so excited to have you. I know you went through a little bit something recently, but thank you for being on with us.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. Of course, anything for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, you know, I met you, was it last year? Yeah, last year, I think.
About a year ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
last year. Through Miss Beverly Johnson, and she brought you to our event, women's event last year, and you did a phenomenal job. And then we've connected since then. And I just think you're so amazing and so great, honestly. And I love to have amazing, great people on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. So for whatever reason, if anyone doesn't know you or what you do, if they're living under a rock, can you please let everyone know what you do?
Well, I appreciate that. And I don't assume that everybody knows who I am or what I do. So I'd be more than happy to share. By profession, I'm a neuropsychologist. I help people get over fears and phobias and emotional challenges and things that hinder their lives. And I had a practice in Los Angeles for many, many years where I did that. And that's my profession. I taught it at UCLA for 7 years. And but by trade, I'm what's known as an ultimate performance specialist, more specifically, a neuroencoding specialist, where I have the privilege of working with and coaching and mentoring A-list people, you know, Academy Award-winning movie stars and Grammy winners and major sports figures and millionaires, billionaires, and everything in between. And I really like to make that point that it's everything in between because I just love people. So it doesn't matter, you know, where you are. If I can help, that's what I'm here for.
And you've been doing this for a long time, but I want to, you know, kind of go back to your story. I know you've told your story millions of times. You've been on some big stages for a long time. And I want to start from the beginning because the beginning is always the best place to start. So I kind of want to hear about your beginnings and your childhood and how you came to be where you are and who you are now.
Well, I actually had a spectacular childhood. My parents were my father was a military man, and so I credit him for, I mean, much more than this, but I credit him for my discipline because he was by the book, everything, and he was this dad that you had to wake up in the morning, and your bed not only had to be made up before you left your room, but it had to be made up so well that he could take a quarter and bounce it. He was military. He could quarter, if he couldn't bounce a quarter off of it, he would tear it apart and you had to do it again.
Wow.
And I hated it, Candice. I hated it as a child. I thought he was just the worst human being in the world. Yeah. And later on in life, I realized that, wow, you know, making your bed up and doing those things to that degree at such a young age is what gave me that level of, I used to call it neuroses, but it gave me that level of discipline. And then my mother was an opera singer. And so she knew the value of practice and rehearsal and those things. So the combination of those things, plus both of them were very, very positive and fun people. So they taught us to laugh and all those things. And I had that all the way through high school, although I wasn't that great a student, quite honestly, because I was an artist. I wanted to be an artist more than anything.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off at all, but most successful entrepreneurs that I know were terrible in high school. Myself
Oh,
included.
yeah.
Myself included.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Listen, it's across the board.
Mhm.
I think it's almost a prerequisite.
I agree.
Almost a prerequisite.
I agree.
And but when I was 17 and a half years old, I graduated high school early at 17 and a half. And when I was 17 and a half years old, I was riding my motorcycle through a place called Bakersfield, California, and 3 grown men tried to take my life because of the color of my skin.
Mm.
And it changed everything, Candice. It destroyed my self-esteem, my self-worth, my drive, my everything. And I always tell people that it wasn't just what they did physically. It was the things that they said to me. Because that old saying that I grew up with anyway, which was sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Well, yes, they can.
Yeah.
And I believed that stuff. And shortly after that, within just a few months, I became homeless, living in a cardboard box behind a drive-in theater, a place called Lancaster, California. And what changed my life, what put me on this path, if you will, was somebody that I didn't know, a kind person, gave me the book Think and Grow Rich, and insisted that I read the book. Long story short, and I didn't want to read the book, but I read the book, and that's what put me on this path. And when I went back to the gentleman to thank him for what he did for me, I said, how do I repay you? Because that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
What he said to me was, he goes, Joesph, how you repay me is you do the same thing that I've done for you, for as many people as you can for the rest of your life. And that's why I get to do what I do right now.
Oof. I love that. And so fast forward, like I said before, you've been on some amazing stages for a long time.
Yeah.
And you've got to help, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Do you ever sit back sometimes and think, like, not that I can't believe this is my life, but just kind of in awe of yourself, of what you accomplished?
I don't know about in awe. I'm a huge advocate of appreciating what you've done and rewarding yourself and praising yourself for what you've done. So at the risk of trying not to sound too humble, I don't get caught up in my own press, if you will.
Yeah.
I will take the time ritually, especially this time of year, because we're coming up on this time of year, where I'll stop and I'll take a look at my accomplishments and everything. And I will say this, that what I did realize I wasn't doing for a long time, maybe 5 years ago, Candice, was realizing that I've crossed the finish line. Because my goal was to do what the gentleman said to me, impact as many people as you possibly can. Well, like I said, I mean, it is estimated that I've had the privilege of speaking live and now virtual to well over 6 million people. And so I think I've accomplished what I set out to do. So it's okay to stop and go, hey, it's okay to feel good about it and not feel like I got to keep driving and do more. Although I still do, and I still want to.
No, with going off of what you just said, which is great, because I think a lot of people don't take the time to even acknowledge all that they've created, all that they've accomplished. Everyone's in such go mode, hustle culture. And so I kind of would like you to speak more on that, and just, appreciation for self and why that's important, and be, grateful for yourself and doing what you set out to do.
Absolutely. And that is, oh goodness, Candice, I can go on for hours on that, because that is what I call the achiever's fatal flaw. And it is achievers, we're so hard on ourselves. It's just like, even when we're successful at something, we go, I should have done better, or Candice did it better than me, or somebody did it, or I didn't, and we criticize ourselves. And that's like scolding a baby for not getting their very first word right.
Yeah.
The baby is going to, is what we do when a baby tries to walk or talk or do whatever, even if they don't get it successful, we don't go, you're a stupid baby, you should have done it better. Candice did it better than you. We praise the baby. And from a neurological standpoint, our body releases dopamine and cortisol. It releases dopamine and endorphins and oxytocin, which is the feel-good hormone, which tells our body that, hey, let's do it again. And so that gives us the impetus. It gives us the joy in wanting to do something more. That you call it the hustle culture. I call it the grind culture. It's like that's the and yeah, you're going to get places when you grind, but you're going to be unhappy along the way. And that is why so many people are alcoholics and drug addicts and unhappy along the way. And so the trick is to praise yourself, as silly as it sounds, to stop, pat yourself on the back, go, hey, I'm a badass. Look at what I've done.
Like, I'm still here. We're still here. We're still here.
Yeah. Yes, not only you're still here, we're thriving. 99% of the rest of the world wishes they were where you are in some way. I call it, I say everybody wants to be the same thing. Everybody wants to be wealthy. But wealthy means, in my book, means to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant. Yes. We all want those three things and all of the subsets, that go along with those. But most of us don't realize that we already are. If we wake up on this side of the dirt, and just like you said, we're here, we made it this far, you can take a deep breath and you have some sort of energy and you can smile, then you're already wealthy. Now, the rest of it is, let's just build on that and make it more.
To go off of this, it reminds me of something from about 2-3 months ago that I want to share with you. So the area that I live in, there's a common area where there's coffee and all this stuff. So I went to the common area to get some coffee before I went to the gym. And there's a man, and he always has a walker. And he was in the area as well, and he was going to get coffee as well. And it was early in the morning. And usually I'm up early in the morning. I just don't want to be talking until about 9 a.m. So, and older gentleman, and he said, good morning. And of course I said, good morning back. And then he said, isn't today great? I've never talked to him before. Isn't today great? And I said, yeah, it is. And he said, out of millions and millions of sperm, you came to this earth for this particular time. This is the guy that lives in my apartment area. I've never talked to this. I'm just like, I left and I said, yeah, you're right. Like, and so are you. And we're very lucky to be here. And I left there. I'm like, well, first of all, that was a great conversation early in the morning. Like, where did that come from? And two, if this man who, older man who, is using a walker, and that's his mentality for this morning, that was really a learning lesson for me, to be really grateful for everything that we've done, that we can do. That's what's next moving forward, getting excited about what's next, other than getting bogged down with potential crap going on.
Right. And do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because you indicated, why would he say that to you? Why did he choose to say that to you in that moment? And that's not a rhetorical question. So I'm asking you the question, why would he say that to you?
I think I took it as it was a message from the universe that was used through him to say to me to redirect my brain. Maybe I wasn't in the best mood that morning, and it redirected my brain. It put me in a different space.
And I'm asking, was that the case, that you weren't in the best mood?
I believe so. I don't know if I was in a bad mood or just kind of like, early in the morning, just kind of like starting the morning, and that wasn't really present, but that made me present.
Sure. And I would add to it, if you don't mind, knowing you, and I don't know you that well, but we have known each other for, a bit of time, and I consider myself a fairly good judge of humans, is that you give off an energy, Candice, literally an energy that causes people to want to interact, that causes people to want to have some sort of conversation with you. You may believe that you're, and maybe you are, shutting down because you're shutting people down because you don't want to have a conversation before 9 a.m. in the morning. That's your rule. And I don't think you can mask the energy that the person that you are, because at the risk of sounding too complimentary, I think everybody's special. As a matter of fact, my mom used to always say, you're special just like everybody else. And you also give off an air of that people want to engage with you. People want to learn what you have. People want to have and share with you. So again, that's, in my opinion, part of your finish line that you've already crossed, that maybe you haven't realized that you've crossed.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. But I don't know, that story just came up for me when you had mentioned something. I was like, I have to share this with Joesph. Just when I saw you at Rafi Lounge and I asked you that question, I was thinking about that morning. Do you remember what question I asked you?
I don't remember the specific question. There were a lot of questions.
I just think you're such a great thought leader. And so that's why I liked asking these specific type of questions. I don't ask everybody this. And I said to you, the thought that came in my head that morning, and I was trying to answer it myself or thinking about what my answer would be, is, do you feel that we're all in some way responsible for each other?
Yes. I believe so. Let me put it this way. As I ask people this all the time, Candice, I go, does it feel good to help somebody else? The answer is a resounding always yes. Okay. Responsible means that you're able to respond. Okay. That you're able to respond. To respond is a whole nother thing. It's a whole different thing, because most people don't respond, but we're able to. And in my opinion, to answer your question, it is our duty to help one another. We want to be helped. We when somebody does something for us, it makes us feel loved. It makes us feel special. It makes us feel like we're worthy. That's what we're on this planet for. So if we want it for ourselves, then I believe that, yes, we are responsible, and it is our duty to respond with kindness, with love, with intention, with all of those things to help another person. Hey, I mean, if you have children, what is our intuition is to make their lives not better just by giving them things. That's not the answer. Yeah. But by giving them experiences so that they can learn on their own, so that they can thrive. And that to me is, I'm trying to move away from the word responsible. That's how we should and are supposed to respond. We're supposed to care and love and make a difference in other people's lives.
Switching around for a little bit, I know you've helped a lot of people, a lot of people. Can you share a story or two of someone that you've worked with that they were definitely one way before they came to you, and they were completely different by the time they left working with you?
Oh, there's so many.
I know there's so many.
I can share individuals, and as you know, I work with large groups of people. I just in November, 4 seminars, and each of those seminars, the smallest group was 3,000 people. The largest group was 16,000 people.
Wow.
So those people, those are, and then, we were with Rafi just a couple months ago, I guess. And that was, a handful of people. So, I can give examples of, from a speaking and presenting standpoint, there's a skill. And let me start off by saying, regardless of what anybody says, at the risk of sounding arrogant, people always say to me, they go, you're so talented on stage, you've got this gift. No, I don't. I have a system. I have a system, and I follow that system. And when you know that system, you go, that's all he's doing. Right. My institute is the Neuroencoding Institute, and I teach people to do that, from presenting to changing people's lives. But to get back to your question, sorry.
Well, one second, Joesph, I gotta say something. Sorry, 1 second. There is also an energy from you that even if people learn your system, I know it's great. I am actually gonna be taking that shortly, but I know it's great, and I know that it works. So I've seen you speak, and it's engaging, it's amazing. The crowd goes wild, but there is a very specific energy from you as well that you give out that is undeniable.
Yeah, and that's my point, is the energy that I give out is systematic. There's something that I do to make that energy. See, most people don't realize it, because people will say, yeah, you're talented, or you're this, that kind of thing. But the truth is, the steps the processes that we go through to get there, whether we're conscious of them or not, they're still there.
Yeah.
They're still there. So that energy that I give off and the energy that you give off, young lady, can be taught. It can. And then so, as I said before, my profession is I'm a neuropsychologist. So I have a lot of certifications in my traditional education, my formal education, my certifications in hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic programming and all of those things. I got a bunch of that stuff. But the truth of the matter is I only use a handful of them to get the results that I use. And I'll give you an example to answer your question. And the video of this woman that I'm about to share with you about, I think is on my website. Her name is Shay. And Shay, and what I do with my students in my institute is once a month, I will do a live call and they can ask me any questions they want, and they can bring people on. And now these are my students, so they all are coaches and mentors and things. So they bring on some of their hardest cases. And this woman comes on, make a very long story short, her name is Shay, and she is having a very hard time, I'll make this very short, talking. She can't get her words out. Now I can see, because I'm watching her eyes, I can see that there's some sort of synapses response in there, but I can also tell that there's something wrong. And she's manic. She's crying one moment and she's okay another moment. And this goes on for honestly like 10 minutes. And she finally gets it out that she is suffering from TBS, a traumatic brain injury. She had a traffic accident that crushed 3 lobes of her brain. And she says, and again, you can watch the video. She says, I've lost all of my memory, all of it. And she said, I'm in a fight for my life. And I don't know what to think. And if I could get you to coach me, I could help so many other people. And that got to me, because I don't per se take on private clients anymore, because I have my institute. I'm doing that. I'm teaching other people to do what I do. But I said, I told her, I said, I will, if you'll allow me to video the sessions so that we can use as learning sessions. And that is part of what I teach my students. That this 3 sessions that I had with her, and each session was maybe 20 minutes long, each of them.
Wow.
Fast forward, and it is in the video, fast forward, it's her again, maybe 2 months later. Her eyes are clear. She's up and she's speaking and she's excited and she's just saying, listen, my life has changed. And let me tell you how. She says, first off, I didn't realize that my biggest fear was of dying, because what the physician had told her, that people that have her kind of injury don't live past 5 years. And she was coming up on her 5-year anniversary. And she said, get this, she said to me, she goes, or she says, she sent this video to me. I didn't ask her to send it. She sent the video. She said, you told me that everything was going to be okay. And something about you made me believe you. Now, I'm telling you this for a reason, because she said, something about me, you said for me to trust you and that everything was going to be okay. So preempting that, or stepping aside from that, how many times do you think somebody else told her everything was going to be okay? Thousands, hundreds. But that's what she said. She said, I know now, because she is one of our students now, and she actually has a business. She does help people. She said, I think it was the auto-suggestion that you used. Now, that's a big word for this. If I tell you something, you might believe me, at least for a little while. You may go, okay, well, he's got these credentials and he's also, but if you tell you something, you will believe you, because who's the person that you've been believing your whole life? You. So it wasn't that I told her everything was going to be okay. I had her tell herself, and there's a process to do that. So she, and then I took her through a process to get over that fear. She didn't even know she had that fear, to get over that fear. And then she says, she didn't even know she was saying it. And then she goes, and what it reminded me of was something that Les Brown said to me 10 years ago. And she goes on and on about this. And she goes this, And then you see it in her eyes. She realizes she has her memory back because she said before she didn't have her memory. Now, I say that, and what I'm not saying, Candice, is that this is the end all and be all. Neuroencoding is the end all and be all. And I can't, it's not that I can, fix anybody. I'm a coach, and this is not therapy. And so, but what I can do is I can coach a person to think differently so that they default to the best thought process, because it's always think, feel, do, have.
Yes.
The best thought process that is going to get them the outcome that they want to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, how do you handle, because when you're in a people business, you're in a people industry, and you get a lot of different emotions, a lot of different personalities, all of them. How do you deal with what would be considered, a difficult client?
That's a great question. It is always physician, heal thyself first. In other words, I cannot come to a situation having animosity or any kind of negativity towards that person if I'm going to help that person.
Yeah.
And at the risk of sounding too unicorns and crystals and rainbows, I come to every situation loving that person more than they love themselves.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's a process. It's easily said, and we can all say that, yeah, I love people. But if you don't have a process to take yourself out of that, and listen, there are narcissistic sociopaths and arrogant, egotistic, ballers and grinders and all that stuff that come that want to teach me a thing or two.
Right.
And I know that. And when they come at me, it's not a matter of opposing them. It's a matter of aligning with them so that I can redirect them and get them to tell themselves that they are those things, and get them to tell themselves that, hey, it's time for me to listen and pay attention and do something about it.
What is your thoughts on the popular phrase or thought process, fake it till you make it?
I believe that the philosophy behind it is strong. I think the process is weak. In other words, it might imply this, okay? That if you see somebody that's flying a Learjet or flying a private jet and you're not, then fake it like you are and do what they do, and you'll be like them. And so that's really hard to do if you don't have the money to buy or to pay for, and nor should it be. However, the process should be boil it down to the human being. It's called the modeling process. Boil it down to the human being. In other words, what you need to fake that you don't have, and I don't like the word fake. I like to use the word model, which is there's three things, and that is you model their beliefs first. In other words, find that person and find out what they believe about themselves, other people, and the world around them. That's their psychology. That's all psychology is, by the way. It's our beliefs about ourselves, other people, and the world around us. So find out what that person is. And it's easier now than it ever has been, because we got this crazy new thing that the kids are all using called the internet. And all you got to do is go on there and you can find out just by listening to that person. So find out what that person believes and take the best and leave the rest. I'll use somebody like an Elon Musk, who arguably is a brilliant man and arguably has a lot of problems as well. Okay.
Right.
So find out what he believes about money and assess that and go, here's the pieces of that I want to use, and do the research. Here's the pieces and then find out what he believes about himself. And here's the pieces that I want to use. And find out what he believes about other people. And here's the pieces that I want to use. That's number one. So find out what their beliefs are. Number two, find out what their syntax is, meaning the order in which they did things. The rituals that they do. What do they do when they get up in the morning? What do they do? What do they do with their body? How do they go about? What kind of scheduling? All of those things. It doesn't have to be anything. This could be a week-long project for somebody to do to find out these three things. The third thing is how they use their body, their physiology. And I'll give you an example. When I first started doing what I do, or this piece of it, which is speaking live in front of audiences. I knew this process that I just told you. And so I looked for the people that I found that I wanted to model. Martin Luther King. And these are the people that I chose. There was Martin Luther King, there was Eddie Murphy, and there was Prince. Why those people? They were just the people that I looked at, that when I would see them in front of audiences, I would say, and the other one was Les Brown.
Yeah.
Was Les Brown. And I'd see these people, and I just went in and I studied them. And in the olden days, this is so funny. Now we get to say in the early 1900s, I would go to their seminars, I would go to their concerts, I would go to things, and I would listen to them. And some of them I actually got to ask. I got to ask Prince, and obviously Martin Luther King was long dead before that. And Eddie Murphy, I got to talk to him as well, because he's in my very first book. I wrote about him in my first book. So I got to ask him those, please, what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about other people? And they're candid. They will say, and oftentimes they never thought about that. So when you ask that question, you get to have it right there. And then there's a process of imbuing that into yourself, so that you believe those things. And then you start to believe it. I like it like this. When you learn how to, if you don't play an instrument and you're learning how to play piano, you don't just sit down and start playing. You learn other people's songs. You model other people and you model those things. What's the same for everything else? And so for me, I believe that the whole fake it till you make it is true. You got to fake like you can play piano, but be systematic about it.
Yeah. What have you seen change in the coaching industry, in the coaching world, the last 20, 30 years that you either are pro or maybe against?
I'll start with the things that are not so good.
Yeah.
And that is that there are a lot of programs out there that are saying, listen, you don't have to know much. If you can teach people's, I say this, don't teach theory, but there are a lot of people out there that are teaching theory. There are a lot of people that are out there that are not healthy, that are not happy, that are not financially abundant, but they're teaching other people to do that. So they're teaching theory. So it's physician heal thyself. And it doesn't mean that you have to be at that pinnacle, of all of those areas. It at least that you're on your way, and teach people to the level that you are. That's number one. Number two is this, and these are kind of the pillars of the Neuroencoding Institute, and that is number one, to be so that's the negative side. You have a lot of people that are would-be coaches with the best of intentions, and they want to help people, and they're not doing so well themselves, and they're doing the basics, which is, let's set our goals and let me hold you accountable to those goals, and if you didn't do it, then there's consequences, and if you did do it, blah blah blah, which is all great stuff that helps some people, but that doesn't last long and it's not sustainable.
Right.
Instead, you've got to work with these three things. Their psychology first. And that means how they think, because I could tell you you're the greatest person in the world. I could tell you all kinds of great stuff. And again, you may believe it when you're in my presence, but when you go home and you get this thing in front of you, then guess what? You're going to start scrolling, and it's going to tell you that you suck, and it's going to tell you that other people are better, and it's going to tell you that you should be doing better, and it's going to distract you and all those other things. And then you're going to eat cake, and then you're going to eat the wrong foods, and you're going to, and it's a downward spiral, and we're being sucked into that. So having said that, here's the upside that, and it is my goal, and it is why I would say at least a third of my students are professionals already, psychologists and psychiatrists. And then the rest of them, another third, are people who are already coaches, but they're not doing well. And then the other third are people who want to be, who are learning. So we accomplish everything. So I come in three ways, four things. Number one, you must have content that solves the problems of the masses. And that's really important. You've got to have something that solves the problems of the masses. And here's what they are. I call them the 10 deadly sins. procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, stress, overwhelm, and fear of rejection. Everybody has those things. And when you have content that not just addresses them, but can solve those problems, then you get to write your own ticket, and then you can help anybody. You see, I have no idea. I have all the technical skills of a slightly intoxicated circus pig. So I couldn't tell you how to program a computer if I had to. But listen, I get hired by a lot of software companies and a lot of programming companies and a lot of, you name it, across the board. But I know that behind all that stuff is the human being. And if I can work with that human being, then I can get that person to perform better. So that's number one, content that solves problems. Number two is the ability to produce a change right now.
Yeah.
Said differently, if somebody comes in front of me, I always say this to people, and it's the truth, because this is what I did in Los Angeles for many, many years. If somebody, I'm as you might imagine, I'm a bit unorthodox about the way I go. You've seen it about the way I go about things.
It's Joseph's way.
Yeah. But if you have a fear of dogs and you come into my office, take a guess what's going to be in my office. It's going to be a dog. And at the end of that half hour or 45 minutes, you're not only going to be loving holding that dog, but I'm going to give you something so I'm going to get a change right then and there of some sort. And that, by the way, is what makes people tell themselves, oh, wait a minute, I did this. And it's not going to be because something I do to you. I tell audiences all the time, that bring me your worst nightmare, bring me your worst fear, bring me your worst memory, something that happened to you or whatever, because some point during that session that we're going to do, and that's, I mean, I do this to hundreds of thousands of people, you're not going to be able to feel that. And it's not going to be something that I do to you. It's going to be something that we do together. And then you're going to realize that you have that skill, because it's never too late to have a happy childhood. You can't change what happened, but you can change how you feel about it. And when you change how you feel about it, everything changes. So second is to be able to make a difference now, make a change in them now. Otherwise, it's just, good advice, be strong, have courage, all that stuff. And you need to do this. And they're not going to do it when they leave. And then the third thing is the ability to present in a way that causes them to believe themselves and causes them to do something now. Yeah. Said differently, you can get up in front of people and present and talk and answer questions and do all of those things. Or, and by the way, people are going to feel good in that moment, but they're gonna forget most of that tough stuff within 48 hours.
Yep.
Or you can, and that's a speaker. And I make the difference between a presenter is different. A presenter makes somebody want to do something. You've seen me do it, have people shaking their asses and standing up on their chairs and yelling and screaming and doing all that stuff. And it's not because, because I'm so magnanimous. It's a system. It's a process. And then the fourth piece is always, as you know, and you're the queen of it, marketing. Marketing, getting yourself out there, getting people to recognize that, wait a minute, I want to work with this person so that I can get these results.
Right.
And so in the industry, that's why I focus on those things with my students that I teach is so that they come away from, as they're learning it, they come away from it with the ability to change somebody's life versus just coach somebody.
Believing Before Seeing, a new bestseller by Candice Bar. Order your copy today.
And I love that answer because, in my opinion, seeing coaches throughout the years, I think the word coach can get, depending on who's doing it, can get a bit watered down, that title.
Yeah.
And so it's very refreshing hearing you say all that. I agree with all of it. So, excuse me. And you've been in it. You've seen the changes.
Yeah, I tell people, don't be a coach.
Right.
Be a mentor.
Yes.
Don't be a coach, be a mentor, because the difference is this. Let's just use a sports example, somebody like a Michael Jordan or even a Steph Curry. They all have coaches, all of them, because coaches are very useful because they can point out some things, they can help you do things, they can see things that you can't. But a coach is very rarely better at the thing that they're coaching somebody to do. Very rarely. coaches, Steph Curry's basketball coaches, or any of the sports figures, their coaches are not better players than they are.
Yeah.
And I'm not a better, like I said, I'm not a better movie star than the movie stars I work with, or Grammy winners and things like that. But what I am, a mentor is somebody that's been there, done that, and is an expert in their field. And so if you're out to help somebody, then be a mentor in that. And that is, be better at learning how to adjust your thinking and adjust their thinking than they are. That makes you a mentor and not a coach. And that's what makes people keep coming back as well.
Yeah. You know, you talked about earlier morning rituals or morning routine, and I'm wondering, what is yours?
Mine's real simple. And by the way, I love simplicity. Complexity is the enemy of execution. When it gets so complicated, people go, oh, I'll go eat cake, or I'll scroll through my phone, or I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
And so, first off, my day starts before I go to sleep. And it's so important that people get this. When you go to sleep at night, there's two really important things that I do. Number one is I get a glass of water and I put it by my nightstand. Number two is, well, first off, I turn off all screens at least 2 hours before I go to sleep. Shut it down.
Yes.
You got to shut it down.
Yeah.
But then when I lay my head on the pillow, it's just, what am I grateful for? What was great about the day? What am I grateful for? I'm very careful not to go, here's what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because then I won't go to sleep because I get excited. But I just go, what am I grateful for? Who am I grateful for? What was great about the day? And then I drop like a shot buffalo. I'm out. Okay. When I wake up, here's the most important thing. Because you know what people do? People wake up and the first thing that they do is they grab this.
Totally.
You know,
Yep.
put it in another room, unless you use it as an alarm clock, and put it across the room, you know.
Yep.
But the first thing that happens, and I don't use an alarm clock anymore, because when you do this, you start to wake up on your own. When you wake up, grab that glass of water without thinking and drink the whole glass of water. Here's the reason why. This is so simple, but it's crazy, because most people don't like to get out of bed in the morning. It's just like, I hate the cold, and I will not get out of the bed if it's cold. Okay, but watch this. First off, you've been laying down prone for 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever. So your energy is sleep energy, right? Which means the electricity that's going through you is at a lower current. Well, when you drink the water, water conducts electricity. So you get energy right away. As soon as you drink that water, you could try to go back to sleep, but you can't, because your body starts to produce electricity. Second thing that it does is now that you have that, then I sit up and I start my gratefulness of what I get to do today. And I'll give you an example. I have a 17-year-old son. He's going on 38 years old, and he's 17. So at 17, they know everything, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And getting him out of bed is like, you know, pulling teeth. And so I wake up in the morning and I go, I get to go wake my son up. I say that to myself, I get to go wake my son up.
Yeah.
And I start to think, and I knew I was going to speak to you today. I get to talk to Candice today. And all those things I'm going through while I'm trying to touch my toes. I sit up in the bed because now I got energy, and I'm trying to touch my toes. Because I've been laying out, I can't touch my toes. So within 3 or 4 minutes, I can touch my toes. But here's the real magic. Once you have had that water, guess what you got to do? You got to pee. So you got to get out of the bed.
Yeah.
And once you get out of bed, then you get a flood of energy and you wake up. So then you go to the bathroom, and then on the way back from the bathroom, you stop in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, put a smile on your face, and say your name and I love you with a smile on your face. And when you do that, it sets up your whole freaking day. It sets up your whole day.
Love
and
this.
that is, yeah, it is so simple and so easy to do. And it's easy not to do, by the way, but start the night before.
Yeah. I love that. That's the best morning routine I've ever heard. And I've asked a lot of people their morning routines.
Yeah, a lot of people have a lot of different things, a lot of facets of things. And then there are, of course, things that you know, the way I eat and things like that. But that's I would say if you just do that, it makes everything else more enjoyable, easier, quicker, and you go further faster.
Joesph, coffee drinker, tea drinker, or neither?
Mostly neither, but I have a cup of tea, dandelion tea right here.
Oh,
So
very
if
nice.
I drink, if I drink tea, it is non-caffeine, and it is, I drink it every once in a while, but it's there's nothing that I do regularly.
That's kind of one thing. That's one thing I did want to talk about with you, because I've noticed you're quite the healthy eater from what I've noticed.
Thank you.
And so I want to talk about diet with you, because that is a huge part of being successful, functioning at a high level, all the things. So what got you into, health, nutrition, wellness, and what is the routine? What is your basic day look like in terms of food?
It's not just food. It is 6 things. And I'll tell you what they are, but I will say this to answer your question. What got me into it was 2 things. Number one, I'm a stickler for doing what we're doing right now, learning. I learned from you. I learned, I go to seminars all the time. I've easily spent close to probably $300,000 over the last couple decades just on seminars and my education and things like that. I love to learn, and I think that's really important. You don't have to spend that kind of money. However, and nowadays it's so much easier because you got YouTube and you got, anything, you can always be learning. And so I had gone to a seminar, and I had, first off, I grew up, my father was very healthy, but they ate terrible.
Okay.
They just ate terrible. And when I was about 20 years old, I realized that I was tired and I was sick all the time. I had colds and flus and all that stuff all the time. And I started to look for different ways. And I honestly, I didn't know, there wasn't much out there, but I went to a seminar, and there was a book that I read years ago. I know the name, Harry and their last name was Diamond. It was called Diet for a New America.
Okay.
And I read the book, and this was 40 years ago. I read the book, and in it, they were talking about some things, and I went to some seminars. And I took on a challenge, and the challenge was this: to only put in my body things that were going to help it. And that, as from a simplistic standpoint, that's it. And the way that you can look at that is nowadays is don't put anything in your body that didn't exist in its current form back in the 1900s, like in the early 1900s, 1920s, 1910s, 1800s. Said differently, processed food. Okay, and I could listen to a whole seminar on this whole thing.
I love that conversation.
So that's it. So what existed back then? See, my belief is, Candice, that everything that's good for your body either grows up out of the ground, bubbles up out of a stream, or grows up out of the ground, or bubbles up out of a stream.
Yes.
So fruits and vegetables, and animals that eat, fruits and vegetables and things like that. And so for me, so here's the 6 things: the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the thoughts we think, the moves we make, and the words we speak. All of those things are input. So that's diet. People think of diet as just the food that we eat, but all that stuff is input. You breathe is the most important thing that we do. And most of us shallow breathe or stress breathe, and we're only getting 2/3. We're only getting 2/3 and maybe 50% of the oxygen capacity of our body. And that's the most important thing. So learning how to breathe properly. Next, air we breathe, water we drink. You got to drink enough water. And again, making it simple, just set your timer to drink a glass of water every 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours. Now people say, well, I'm going to be peeing all the time. No, the truth of the matter is your body uses water. And if you don't believe me, I have glasses on because that I had a little eye surgery done here to get a sty taken out. But if you take your glasses and you go, well, do I have a pair around here that I'm not using? No. If you take your glasses and you put them on your mouth and you go, it's going to fog up, and it's going to fog up because water is leaving your body. We lose water through urination, perspiration, breathing, everything. We're always using water, and our body is functioning that way. It's supposed to be. So water. Next thing is the food that we eat. Like I said, only eat stuff that's in its own, and I didn't make this up. My friend Titus made this saying up. Only eat stuff that is in its current form was around, in the late 1800s and 1900s.
Yes.
Processed food, get it out of there. And I could go on and on. Milk and dairy and stuff like that, get it out of there. None of that stuff is
so terrible for you. And we might have to do a whole nother interview just on food.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. I love it. I absolutely love it. So then everybody, water we drink, food we eat, thoughts we think. And that's it. Like I said in the morning, just look where you want to go and think about what you want to, and put in front of you people like you that are only going to talk about things that are possible, that are going to talk about, you put yourself around negative people, that's input, that's your diet, and garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
So air we breathe, water we drink, food we eat, thoughts we think, moves we make. I didn't say exercise. Most people, if you just get out and walk 15 minutes a day, you're going to get all the exercise you need. Just get out and walk.
Yep.
And then moves we make, and then the words we speak, I never shut up. You know that. I'm constantly yak. I'm running my pie hole all the time. And the words that I speak, find something to talk about. I always say to people, if you don't have something to talk about, Jim Rohn taught me this, borrow my words. If you like what I'm saying, borrow my words. Go, hey, guess what I learned from Jim Rohn yesterday? Guess what I learned from Candice yesterday? Guess what I learned? And now we got this beautiful thing that, with social media, you can go on there and just run your mouth. And if you're going to talk about yourself, go ahead and say, listen, I'm amazing. I'm a badass. Say those things, because those things are diet. That's what we put in. And those things, that I'm a stickler about those things. That, I try to do those things all the time. I'm human, and I have to catch myself, and just like everybody else. But the trick of the matter is if you do it enough times, then you'll start to default to that stuff.
I love that. I have something to ask you. It just came to me. And I would love your answer on this. So, years ago, I'd say 12, 13 years ago, I interviewed a woman, and she had told me that she purposefully did not say one word for one full year while running her company. And I thought that was fascinating and such an interesting social experiment. And I love social experiments. Do you think you could ever do that?
In my line of business, no.
No.
No. I that was what I was going to ask, was what is her company?
It's a good question, because I actually don't remember. So
yeah. In my company, the answer is absolutely no.
Yeah.
Nor would I want to. Nor would I want to. Yeah.
Well, I also want to ask you, because you've been doing this for quite some time and you've impacted a lot of people, what keeps the passion going to do the type of work that you do? Because I know that getting other people results, and you got a lot of people, a lot of awesome results, that may keep you going. And also on top of that question, what's the passion that keeps you going? And two, has that passion changed throughout the years, or the driver changed throughout the years?
Well, you ask a bunch of great questions, Candice. The first answer is, I said it earlier, there's one of the greatest feelings is helping somebody else. How we live, how we give is how we live. Serving, servant leadership, whatever, to help somebody, that's my passion. When somebody, to me, and everybody's different. I'm a musician. I love to play music and things like that as well. And so I have passions all over, but what keeps me going and doing what I'm doing is when I know that one person's life has changed, but because theirs life has changed, somebody else's life has changed. One of my greatest joys in my life is when people, they don't come to me and go, Joesph, you changed my life. That's great. what my greatest passions is and joys in life is when somebody comes to me and says, guess what? I changed somebody else's life. I said something to somebody else. That warms my heart. That's what makes me do what I do. And here's how it's changed, because I will say I'm human. And I will say in the very beginning, that's what lit me up, was when people would say, Joesph, you changed my life. But what has changed through time is now when other people do that. I mean, that's why I started my institute, is because I want to, we have, I want to have an army of people, and we do all over the world, who by the words that they say, and it's simple, that they change somebody's life. And monthly, we have our calls, we have, all the support and everything. And that's what they do, is they report, here's what happened to this person, here's what happened to this person, here's the charity that I got this person started, here's what I did here. That's what keeps me going.
Beautiful. And so, Joesph, I could talk to you forever. I'll probably have you back on for sure. But, we're going into 2024 now, which I can't believe.
I know, isn't it crazy?
It's this year flew by.
Yeah.
What are you excited about coming up in 2024 for you? And what can we expect to see?
I literally just had my yearly meeting with my team, with my organization. I've got an unbelievable team at the Neuro Encoding Institute. And so we built it and built it to where it is right now. And now I want to 10x it. I'm going to 10x it this year.
Yeah.
And 10x it means have more people out there that are making a difference, because I love this saying that you said earlier. You said, unless you're living under a rock. See, my belief is that those of us that dare to dream while the rest of the world is having a nightmare, we're not only going to create the wealth, health, happiness, and abundance that we want for ourselves, but we're going to be shining examples for other people. And unless you've been living under a rock, the rest of the world is having a really hard time right now. And they need people. They need people that are not just positive people and are going to give good advice, but they need people that can make a change in their life, that can make, even if it's just a 1 degree shift now. But that's, I think it's so necessary. So that's what 2024 looks like in terms of my passion for that. 2024, also, my son will graduate from high school and his ass is out. He's got to go do something. And, there's lots of great stuff, but I think the biggest thing, and I say this to my students now, it's like, because it's not about, hey, just come learn this stuff. It's come learn it. And because there's a marketing component of it as well. So I want their businesses to grow as well, as speakers, as mentors, and as neuroencoding specialists as well.
I will say, in the very beginning of the interview, you said someone, gave you a book and it sounds like poured into you, and then the payback was for you to pour into other people. I think you have safely checked that off, more than checked that off.
Yeah, think.
And now helping other people check that off as well. So I absolutely love that. I love the work that you do. You're incredibly impactful in so many different ways. You've changed a lot of people's lives, like we've said. And that's not an exaggeration, that's a reality. So,
thank you.
I am looking forward to seeing even more from you. Not that you haven't done enough, but even more, because entrepreneurs never stop. They might shift and reposition, but they don't stop.
Well, I would agree with you. And I want to add to, I want to amend my last comment with regard to what's next. Is I also want to create, because not everybody wants to be or needs to be a coach or a mentor or anything like that. I want to help people become what I call megapreneurs.
Yeah.
And an entrepreneur, as you know, is somebody who creates income and lifestyle through means other than the traditional employer-employee relationship. They start businesses and things like that. But statistically, you know this probably better than me, statistically, most businesses to the tune of like 80 to 85% fail within now it's 2 years, it used to be 3 years. And they fail not because the person doesn't want it or need it, or even because they grind. They fail because they burn out, and because they don't have the psychological fortitude to get through. A megapreneur is an entrepreneur who operates in that upper 3 to 5% of entrepreneurs. And so there's a process to be able to do that. And so that's the other thing. So because I'm a businessman as well, you know,
Yeah.
and so to be able to do that requires a skill set, and all skill sets are learnable and teachable. And
Yeah.
so, you know, we actually have a program called the Magnetic Megapreneur. We'll do it on our next session, by the way. About magnetism. It's not the laws of attraction. It's not that stuff. But we all can create and bring into our lives the situations, circumstances, and even the material things that we want. But here's the difference. I'll start it off. I'll tease this, okay? And that is this. You know, we all have heard of the laws of attraction, and that's all great stuff, but it's 5,000-year-old plus philosophy that if it worked the way that it's supposed to work, everybody would be healthy, happy, and financially abundant, but it doesn't. And the truth of the matter is that from a physiological standpoint, we all are made of the same stuff, and we're all made of the same stuff as a magnet. And so, which means we can, I have two of them right here. Watch this. This is silly. Okay, so here's two magnets. Let me see if am I in front? Yeah.
Yep.
And these two magnets are very, very powerful magnets. Okay, now watch. If I hold them here, they're always going to do that because this is a magnet and that's a magnet. Okay, they're always going to do it. But people think that this magnet is pulling that magnet. No, if I let them go, I'm not going to because I'll drop them. They're actually pulling each other together. They're both magnetizing.
Yeah.
But, oh, you know, I can do this. Ooh, what? Oh, wait, watch. I said to you that I was not fancy. Watch this. Ooh, I am. Hopefully this will turn out. Bear with me for a second. You're going to love this, Candice. Okay, so I usually have a tech here to help me do stuff. Let me see if it's there. There it is. Okay, so watch this. So I have these two magnets.
Okay.
And this is what happens with people, is that you can want something all day long. You can desire something all day long. But if you don't believe that you deserve it, if you don't believe, if your psychology is that there's something wrong with you, or you're not unlucky, you're too fat, you're too white, you're too black, or whatever, then you will push it away. Now watch. So let's assume that these magnets are always magnets, are always going to be magnets. And the magnet is made of the same thing that we are as human beings: electrons, protons, and neutrons, everything on the planet, right? But watch this. So let me get over to there. Okay, so I have these two magnets. Okay, so if I put these magnets together, oops, watch what happens. So I'm going to let go, and they're both moving towards each other, right?
Yeah.
Let me do it again, okay? They're both moving, okay?
Yes.
But watch this. This is the blow mind. Watch this. If I take this magnet and I turn it over, watch what happens.
Deflect.
It pushes it away.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the reason that's so important is what makes human beings magnetize, what makes us magnets to what we want, is our psychology, our emotion, our feelings. So if you have doubt, if you have insecurities, if you have fears, if you have those 10 things that I told you about, which we all do, then you're pushing away what you want. Yeah. It's not that because people always ask me, well, Joesph, if I'm thinking negative, am I attracting that stuff to me? No, you're just pushing your stuff away. You're pushing stuff away. And so the trick is to learn how to make it so that you automatically default to that magnetism. Yeah. And so when we do that, we bring more into our lives, and we go after, because it's not just attracting stuff to you, it's you going after what you want as well. Yes. And then it happens faster and quicker. That's the tip of the iceberg as a megapreneur, as a magnetic megapreneur.
Did you make up that word? Because that's the first time I heard that word, and I like it.
Yeah, I did make it up.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
You should trademark that, Joesph.
And oh yeah, we already have. And and like I said before, don't teach theory, because the thing that I am a megapreneur in is in this field. I'm in the upper 3 to 5% of, in terms of speakers and what I do, and in my other careers as well. I've always done that. And I always say, I won't teach theory. I won't teach you or anybody else something that I have not, A, done for myself, and B, that I haven't taught other people to do as well. So from all of those areas, I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I'm financially independent.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Well, Joesph, I love you. We will have you on again. Like I said, how can people find you?
The easiest way is Instagram. And as a matter of fact, go to Instagram. It's I am and then my name, Joesph McClendon, on Instagram. And I've got a free thing for everybody to do. I'm going to start it off by saying this. New Year's is coming up. I don't know when this is going to air, and even if it airs afterwards, it's still going to be there. New Year's is coming up, and on New Year's, everybody does this. 99% of people do the same thing. They make their New Year's resolution on New Year's.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to be a better, whatever. And they do it. And then the next time they check in is next New Year's.
Yes.
Okay. And my friend Deepak Chopra says 85% of all New Year's resolutions that are made are the same ones they made last year.
Yeah.
Which means they didn't do them. So I created something years ago called the New Year's Evolution. And it is, again, it is my gift to everybody. And it's absolutely free. If you go to my Instagram, I am joesph.mcclendon.com, and you click on my profile, you'll see New Year's Evolution. It's a workbook and an audio. And all you got to do is follow it. And it's stupid simple. And when you do it, it starts to work. It is not just writing down your goals and things like that. There's a process that you go through.
Beautiful. Again, we love having you, Joesph. And make sure you go to Joeseph's Instagram, check out what he's talking about. Invaluable information. He is the best. He's really amazing. I've seen him live a few times, and he'll blow it out of the water. I mean, if you want some transformation, inspiration, motivation, education, go to Joesph. So thank you for taking the time again. Thank you. And we will see you again. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. And we will see you all again next week. Bye, everybody.